Okay, let's dive into something that, well, I think almost everyone struggles with at some point. You meet someone new, right? Could be anywhere, work, a party, whatever.
Hmm.
You shake hands, you smile, they say their name, and you hear it. You genuinely do. But then, like moments later, poof, the name's just gone.
But the face stays, right?
Exactly. You remember the face perfectly. It's that classic, I never forget a face, but I'm terrible with names situation.
It's such a common frustration, that feeling of making a connection and then the awkwardness hits when you realize you just can't pull up the name.
Right. And then you're either doing that awkward dance trying to get the name again without asking, or maybe worse, you just sort of avoid them later because it's embarrassing.
It happens all the time.
Hmm.
And the source material we've been looking at, it really argues this isn't just, a small social fumble. It actually matters a lot more than we tend to think.
Yeah. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We've gone through this guide that lays out a really specific step-by-step system for remembering names and faces more effectively.
A practical system.
Totally practical. Our mission here is to basically cut through everything else and pull out the absolute core actionable steps and insights from this guide so you can actually start making those names stick.
Because as the guide really hammers home, remembering a name isn't just about having a good memory. It's a fundamental way to show respect, to acknowledge someone.
It's about connection, isn't
A
it?
powerful tool for it, yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this common problem.
Yeah.
Why do we struggle so much? And why does the guide say it's so critical to get better at it? It tackles that phrase head on. I never forget a face, I just can't recall the name.
Yeah, and the perspective in the guide is really interesting. It kind of challenges that idea that you heard the name and then poof, it vanished.
Yeah, okay.
It argues that most of the time, the real issue isn't actually forgetting. It's that you never properly registered the name to begin with. Like you were there, but your focus, it wasn't locked on to receiving that piece of information.
Ah, okay. So it's not a memory storage problem like when you need to recall it later.
Yeah.
It's an input problem right at the start.
Exactly. The information arrived, but maybe the reception desk in your brain was, busy sorting other mail.
That makes a lot of sense.
And getting past that input hurdle is crucial. The guide brings in some classic wisdom here. It references Dale Carnegie.
Oh, yeah. How to win friends.
Right. Carnegie's point that everyone's favorite subject is themselves, and that the sweetest sound to anyone is the sound of their own name.
Hearing your name, it definitely grabs your attention. It feels personal, validating even.
It really does. And the source links this to Zig Ziglar's idea, too. People don't care how much you know until they first know how much you care. And
Mhm.
remembering and using someone's name, according to this guide, that's one of the simplest, most direct ways to show you do care, to show respect, to make someone feel like well valued.
And the impact of doing that or not doing that is pretty big.
Yeah.
The guide uses this great example with an insurance salesman, Brian.
Right. The three scenarios.
Yeah. So scenario one, you meet Brian at some event. Later, you see him across the room, blank on the name, and you just awkwardly avoid him.
Connection potential.
Yeah.
0. Lost opportunity.
Scenario two, you go up and say, hey, I remember your face, but gosh, your name slipped my mind.
Which is better than avoiding, but as the source points out, it doesn't exactly scream, I value you, I remember our interaction. It's a bit meh.
Right. But scenario three, you walk up confidently, hey, Brian, good to see you again. How's your son Matt doing? And how's Katie?
Boom. That's the word the guide uses. Boom. Instant rapport. You didn't just remember the name, you remembered details. You showed you were actually listening, engaged.
That's powerful.
And that's the core idea. It shifts things from just a transaction to, actual relationship building.
Yeah.
The guide stresses this isn't just for sales, it's for any area of life. People connect with people they know, like, and trust. Remembering names is step 1.
Okay, so how do we get to scenario three more often? The guide, it doesn't promise magic, but it offers this system, a clear 5-step process.
Yeah, and it's specific that this isn't about having some super high IQ or just, muttering the name 5 times under your breath. That rote stuff doesn't really stick.
Right.
It takes conscious effort, yes, but it's structured effort. And the mindset is key. The guide advises against just trying the system.
Why is that?
Because trying often implies, maybe subconsciously, that you expect to fail or you're not fully committed. The real power comes from learning it and then implementing it consistently.
Implementing. Okay, I like that. It's active. So what are these 5 steps? You said the first one tackles that input problem. Step 1 is focus.
Exactly. The guide is really clear. Lack of focus is the #1 reason we miss names. Think about it. You're walking up to meet someone new. what's going on in your head.
Oh, total internal chaos, usually.
All
Do I look okay? Is there spinach in my teeth? Oh, shoot, I forgot to send that email. What are we even going to talk about? All that stuff.
Right. Or anxieties like, I hope they like me. Or strategic thinking like, is this person important for my career? The guide argues the most important question right then, what is their name? Often gets drowned out by all that noise.
So the technique for step one is, it sounds almost too simple, but it requires that conscious effort. As you approach someone, you deliberately interrupt that internal chatter
And replace it.
by asking yourself, silently, over and over,
Mhm.
what is their name? What is
Yeah.
their name?
Yeah, it's about directing your focus, training your brain to prioritize that piece of data in those critical first few seconds. It gives the name a fighting chance to actually land.
And the guide also mentions, sort of briefly, general brain health stuff that helps with focus and memory overall.
Right, the basics. Things like good nutrition. It mentions spinach, blueberries, omega-3s, water, pumpkin seeds, apples.
The good stuff.
And avoiding the bad stuff, lack of sleep, too much alcohol or sugar or salt, artificial sweeteners, junk food. Just a reminder that, a healthy brain works better.
Makes sense. A tired, poorly fueled brain isn't going to be great at focusing on anything.
Pretty much.
Okay, so step one, laser focus to actually grab the name. Once you've heard it, where does it go? That leads to step two, file.
Right. Think about files on your computer. If you just threw every single document onto your desktop with no folders, finding anything would be impossible.
Total chaos, yeah.
Our memory needs something similar. A specific place, a mental file for each person's name and associated info.
And in this system, the file isn't imaginary, it's physical, on their face.
Exactly. It's something you can actually see and observe. A unique or distinguishing facial feature. That feature becomes your mental hook, your file folder for that person.
So this could be pretty much anything that stands out, like a prominent nose or really thick eyebrows, maybe a small scar, dimples.
Yeah, or their eyes, lips, chin, ears, cheekbones, maybe wrinkles, baldness, their hair, teeth, lashes. The guide lists tons of possibilities.
Wow, yeah. Facial hair, sideburns, forehead size, lots to choose from.
It just shows how unique everyone's face really is when you start looking. And the guide suggests practicing this observation skill all the time. Watching TV, people watching. Consciously ask yourself, what stands out on his face? What's the most distinguishing thing about her face?
That practice alone seems valuable. It forces you to actually look at people more closely when you meet them instead of just glancing past them.
Precisely. It shifts your attention outward onto them. And here's a really crucial tip the guide gives for when you're trying to recall a name later.
Okay.
If you see someone and the name just isn't coming, don't panic and keep mentally shouting, what's their name? What's their name?
Because stress jams the gears, right? Performance anxiety makes you forget things you actually know.
Exactly. Stress is memory's enemy. So instead, the source says, ask yourself, what stands out on their face? Or, in the system's terms, what was their file-y?
So you access the file first.
Right. You focus on retrieving the feature, that visual anchor. The idea is that retrieving the file will then help pull up the information stored in that file, namely the name.
That's clever. It's like using a different key to unlock the door. The guide had some examples from analyzing faces, didn't it?
It did. Like, for one face #1, they suggested the nose as the file. For another, face #3, the cheeks, but specifically noting to maybe avoid temporary things like bright lipstick, if possible.
Good point.
Face #7, the file was the double chin. Face #8 was easy, the beard. Face #10, the bald head.
So pick something noticeable and relatively permanent.
That's the goal, something that catches your eye and is likely to be there the next time you see them.
Okay, step one, focus to get the name. Step two, file it away using a distinguishing facial feature. Now step three, image.
Right, and this step really taps into how our brains are wired. The guide makes a strong point. Your mind thinks primarily in pictures, not in abstract words or sounds.
Like dreaming. You see things, you don't read text.
Exactly. You remember faces easily because they are pictures. Names, on the other hand, are just sounds, abstract concepts, harder for the visual brain to grab onto.
So the trick is to make the name visual. Turn the name into a picture.
Precisely. The guide has this quick little test to demonstrate it. It lists 5 names: Lisa, Al, Steve, Brian, Pammy. Just try to remember that list cold.
Okay. Lisa, Al, Steve, Brian, Tammy. Got it. Maybe.
Now, it tells this slightly absurd little story. Imagine you're looking at the Mona Lisa
Okay.
when suddenly an owl flies in and lands on a stove. The stove is super hot, and the owl's brain pops out. You quickly grab the brain and stick it in your tummy.
Okay.
Right there.
Vivid and weird.
Yeah.
I could definitely picture that whole crazy sequence.
Now, try remembering the original list of names again.
Let's see, Mona Lisa, Lisa, Owl, Al Stove, Steve, Brain, Brian, Tummy, Tammy. Wow. Okay, yeah. Recalling the story and translating it back is way, way easier than just remembering the list.
That's the power of pictures. The story works because it's a sequence of images. The names alone are just abstract sounds. The pictures were chosen to sound like the names. Lisa, Mona Lisa, Al Owl, Steve Stove, Brian Brain, Tammy, Tummy.
That really drives the point home. So the core of step 3 is creating a concrete picture for every name you hear. The guide gives some rules for this, right? Like commandments.
Yes, and following these makes the system much more effective. First big one, don't use other people you know with the same name as your picture.
Right, because picturing your Uncle Steve every time you meet any Steve gets super confusing.
Exactly. The guide says famous people are usually okay, like Elvis, Madonna, because they're so distinct you won't mix them up with your neighbor Dave, who looks nothing like David Bowie. But generally, avoid using personal acquaintances.
Okay, what else?
Second, the picture should ideally be a simple, concrete noun that sounds like the name or part of the name. Steve, stove. Brian, brain.
Yeah.
Matt, doormat. Simple visual things.
Makes sense.
Third, for longer names, break them down. Use syllables. Christopher could be Christopher, maybe a picture of a cross, plus a toe, plus some fur.
Cross Topher? Okay, it's memorable because it's weird.
Fourth, and this is really important, different versions of a name need different pictures. You can't use the same image for Chris and Christine.
Ah, okay.
So, Al might be an owl, but Albert could be a burnt owl. Chris is a cross. Christopher is that cross with fur. Judy is chew tea. Judith is chew this. Christine is a christening gown. Christy is a cross with tea. Kristen is kiss a ton. Got to keep them separate.
That prevents confusion between similar names. Crucial.
Absolutely. Fifth, the guide says, don't overthink it. Go with the very first picture that pops into your head when you hear the name, even if it seems silly or only makes sense to you. Their example was Jessica Dresser. First thought, best thought.
Just trust that initial connection.
Okay, 6, and this is a huge GE one. Use the same picture every single time for that specific name. Consistency is key. If your picture for Paul is a basketball,
Then every Pell is a basketball from now on.
every single one, it builds a fast automatic link in your brain. You're not constantly trying to invent new pictures.
Mental dictionary. What's next?
7th, make it a habit. When you meet someone new and don't have a picture for their name yet, immediately ask yourself, okay, what could a picture for this name be? Actively build your library.
Be proactive.
8th is practical advice. If you find yourself getting bogged down trying to create the picture during the conversation, just stop. Let it go for a second. Re-engage with the person. Focus on listening. You can always create the picture right after you walk away.
Oh, that's really important. Don't let the technique get in the way of the actual human connection you're trying to make.
Exactly. The technique serves the connection, not the other way around. And 9th, it even mentions handling different spellings if needed, like building the difference into the picture. Jeffrey could be a chef reading. Jeffrey could be a chef in the ER.
Wow, okay. That's detailed. So you've got your picture for the name. What do you do with it?
Now you combine step 2 and step 3.
No.
You take that name picture and you mentally visualize it on the distinguishing facial feature, the file that you picked in step 2.
So, Steve, his file was the large nose. His picture is a stove. You picture the stove on his nose.
Right there, sitting on his nose. Or maybe balanced precariously.
Okay, a stove on a nose. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty hard to forget.
And the guide is helpful here. It includes long lists of suggested name pictures for common names from all over U.S., African, Asian, European, South American names, common last names too. Smith, blacksmith, Johnson, toilet in the sun, Miller, sawmill.
Toilet in the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear a few more fun ones from the list.
Sure. Dorothy, tornado. Elizabeth, lizard breath. Jim, Jack, carjack. Danapan. Derek, always visible. Derek, Sheila, sheet.
Lizard breath. Huh. Those instantly create a visual, don't they?
They do. And the more vivid, the more unusual, the better for memory. Which brings us neatly to step 4, action.
Action. Okay, so we've got the name picture mentally placed on the facial feature file. Why isn't that enough? Why add action?
Because, the guy argues, our brains don't remember static images nearly as well as they remember things that are happening, things with energy and emotion. Passive pictures fade.
Like watching a slideshow versus a movie.
Sort of. Think about major life events, like the guide mentions maybe 9/11, or the space shuttle explosion, or even a personal memory like a car accident. You remember details, sounds, feelings vividly, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But can you easily recall, say, every single place you drove your car last Tuesday? Probably not. The routine passive stuff doesn't stick like the high action, high emotion stuff.
Makes sense. Action and emotion carve deeper grooves in our memory.
Exactly. So to make that name picture file connection really lock in for the long term, the image needs to be active. It needs movement, energy, maybe exaggeration, and emotion.
So just picturing the stove sitting quietly on Steve's nose.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it for long-term recall.
Probably not as well. The guide is blunt. If you don't add action, then you won't remember long term. Passive images are forgettable. That stove on Steve's nose needs to be doing something dramatic.
Like what?
Maybe it's red hot, sizzling with smoke pouring out. Maybe it's cooking bacon and the smell is overpowering. Maybe it's so hot Steve's nose is turning red or even bursting into flames.
Whoa.
Or Lisa with the Mona Lisa in her eyes. Don't just picture the painting. Picture Da Vinci in her eyes, actively painting, maybe getting paint splattered everywhere.
In the Karen example, the file was eyebrows, the image was carrots.
Don't just see carrots as eyebrows. Imagine you are reaching out and taking a giant, crunchy bite out of her carrot eyebrows. Hear the crunch, taste the carrot, feel how weird that is.
Okay, I'm cringing a little, but I will definitely remember that. Eating eyebrow carrots. Got it.
That exaggeration, that sensory detail, that action, that emotion, maybe surprise, disgust, humor, that's what welds the name to the face in your memory, according to this system.
Focus, file, image, action. That seems like a really powerful way to encode the memory.
Yeah.
What's the last piece? The final step.
Step 5, review. Because even with these crazy, vivid, active images, if you don't revisit them, they can still fade, especially for people you don't see often. Review is what moves the memory from short-term working memory into more durable, long-term storage.
Makes sense. So how does the guide suggest we review?
Several ways. First, immediately after meeting someone. Take just a few seconds right after you part ways. Mentally ask yourself, okay, what was their file? What was their name? What was the picture? And then quickly rerun that active emotional image on their feature in your mind.
Reinforce it right away while it's fresh.
Exactly. Then maybe at the end of the day, take a minute or two, ask yourself, who did I meet today? And just quickly cycle through the file name image action for each person.
And what about using downtime? Like when you're commuting or showering or just waiting in line?
Perfect time for it. The guide explicitly suggests using those moments. Review people you met yesterday, last week, even last month. Keep bringing those images back up. Another technique is using locations as triggers.
How does that work?
If you drive past the restaurant where you met someone or the office building, use that as a cue. Ask yourself, who did I meet there? And then review their name and image.
Using external cues to jog the memory. Smart.
Yeah. And finally, for people you really want to remember, the guide suggests keeping a simple name journal. Just jot down the name, the file, distinguishing feature, maybe where you met them, or one other fact.
And look at it periodically.
Exactly. Maybe once a week, just glance through it, visualize the faces, reactivate those crazy action images in your mind.
Okay, so it's a full cycle. Steps 1 to 4 are about getting the information in there powerfully. And step 5 is about locking it in for the long haul through reinforcement.
That's a great summary. And the guide shows how quick it can be once you practice. Let's run through Karen again, super fast.
Okay.
1, focus. Approaching her, think, what's her name? What's her name? Here, Karen.
2, file. Look at her face. Notice her prominent eyebrows. That's the file.
3, image. Karen sounds like carrots. Picture as carrots.
4, action. Imagine vividly eating her crunchy carrot eyebrows. Hear the crunch. Taste it.
5, review. Later that day, or when you see her again, think eyebrows, eating carrots. Karen.
That really pulls it all together. It seems like practice is key to getting fast at steps 3 and 4, creating those images and actions quickly.
Absolutely. And the guide actually includes a name test section, like 30 different faces with names and suggested files, images, and actions for each one. It's designed specifically for practicing and building that skill and speed.
That sounds like a really useful tool to get started.
It turns it into kind of a mental game, doesn't it? Less like homework, more like a creative exercise. You're actively manipulating information, making it visual, making it dynamic.
This whole system, focus, file, image, action, review, feels really practical. Maybe a little weird with the images and actions, but memorable because it's weird.
Exactly. And the payoff, as the guide keeps coming back to, is huge. Remembering names isn't just a party trick. It's a fundamental way to show people you actually see them, you value them.
It builds trust, creates connection almost instantly, makes people feel acknowledged.
It really does. It validates their existence in that moment.
So thinking about this whole deep dive, Here's something maybe for you to mull over. Think about all those small interactions you have. Every day, every week. New colleagues, people at events, neighbors, parents at school. Just countless potential connections.
Yeah, those fleeting moments.
What potential for, I don't know, deeper connection, building trust, maybe even uncovering opportunities? What potential lies hidden in every single one of those handshakes or brief introductions?
And what could change if, instead of just letting those names drift away moments later, you consciously engaged your mind? If you used a system like this one to turn that fleeting moment into something more.
What if you could actually transform that quick, nice to meet you, into the genuine first step of a stronger relationship, a real connection? Simply by mastering this art of remembering someone's name and showing them that, yeah, you really saw them, you really heard them.
It fundamentally changes the interaction, doesn't it? From just another face in the crowd to someone who's been acknowledged, seen,